The world has gone crazy. What do we do? I guess all we can do is listen to the Outpost show, the human spirit experiment. He'll help us. He'll know what to do.
Riddle me this, riddle me that. It's Happy Love Day. Let me tell you my rap. Love is every day. Love is right on time. Love is a gift from the Holy Spirit. A gift that's yours and mine. We need love forever. Let's keep getting better. Stop changing the conditions like you see the crazy weather. Love never changes like a clock changes time. Love is kind, not a toy that you wind. Love is from the heart. Love is from the know. Learn more about it on the Outpost Show. The human spirit experiment starts now.
Hello, everybody, and welcome. Welcome to this great time. Welcome to the Outpost Show, the human spirit experiment, if you haven't figured it out yet. You know, we're all part of some kind of experiment, right? You even experiment on yourselves, right? You experiment how to get better, right? That's what you're supposed to be doing, right? Today is a happy day. We have heru, the fabulous heru, by the way, who's going to bring us some new ideas on some things. We decided we're going to keep this thing going. We're going to be talking about these 7 principles I love. But before we get started here now, I need you to do me a favor. I need you to subscribe to my channel. And then I want you to click on that bell so you can make sure you get notified when I'm on and heru is on. Okay? So a lot of things been going on in this world, but we want to make some fun about it. That's what we try to do. Now we're going to be talking about the 7 principles of Ma'at, and I've finally figured out all the reasons why there's ladies here. It's in our show to tell us about these truths, what I find so interesting. The whole thing for me is that we are taking the best and then leaving the rest, and we're going to be an adult of our spirit, an adult of our mind, the adult of our thoughts, the adult of our emotions, the adult of our actions, the adult of our bodies, the adult of our love, the adult of our surroundings, adult of our relationships, and to have the completeness of being the adult of our decisions. And so your decisions is what we all live by. Every decision that we ever made. When I decided I'm going to move to Los Angeles when I was 20 years old and turned 21 in Los Angeles, that was a major decision that even has an effect on me today. What decision are you going to make? What's going to be more important for you? Because in these coming times right now, the decisions we make are going to be crucial. And that's why we're going to be talking about these 7 principles: truth, justice, harmony, balance, order, propriety, and reciprocity. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So we're going to be bringing heru here in just a second. And again, I want to please subscribe to my channel so we can get this thing started. Ladies and gentlemen, you're in for a treat. On today's Outpost show, we have the great guest heru, who knows all about chakras, yoga, and essential oils. Give her a big hand. Hey, where's my hand? Where's my hand? Oh, come on in here, heru.
I'm going to give a hand to you as well for that song that you sang, the rap that you sang at the beginning. That was cool.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you.
I assumed you wrote that the way you got it to rhyme. I was impressed.
Absolutely wrote it. Yes, I did. I wrote it.
Hmm.
Love is not like a clock that you wind. Love is kind. Yes. So, one of the things that when we finished the chakras, now you everyone they're all on YouTube here, and so we did the seven chakras here the last 7 weeks, and now we're going into a new principle. Now, I just wanted you to know when I, of course, when we decided to go into, could you say the name, please, so I don't ruin it? Seven
You talking
principles
of
of
Ma'at. Ma'at.
Ma'at.
Hmm.
Ma'at.
That's correct.
Okay.
Hmm.
Okay. Thank you.
Hmm.
Like
You're
my aunt.
welcome.
My aunt. Okay.
Except without the N.
My yes, without the end. My aunt. Okay. That my aunt. All right.
Ma'at, which
My
means
aunt.
truth.
My aunt.
Hmm.
Yes, which
Hmm.
means truth, and that was again one of the things that really brought me to this. Now, the things when I left Christianity, and I know some of my Christian friends watch this, I really believed that there wasn't just this one place that we all have to just be at. That the spirit is an individual entity with a soul and mind that has the ability to create its own universe within itself. And so what attracted me, of course, was your essential oils. But then we went into and the chakras, which I think was great. You did such a fantastic job. And then you suggested about these seven principles of Ma'at, and
Correct.
so. But what I did, I started looking into it because, I'm I got to keep up with this lady a little bit here. Um, I got to know at least how to ask a question. And so I wanted to say that what really impressed me about this was the 40 ideals, the 42 ideals. Okay. And I read them all, and they all, as far as I'm concerned, they they relate to everything in life, and that thing that reminds me of a question or a principle that Sophia would say. And so that's and then so when I realized that and when I started looking into it, it was like, well, this is so incredible. And I'm just so glad and thankful that you're here to be able to give this perspective for people to understand that our spirit is individuals and there's ways to be great, simple practices, but still you have to do the work. So, with all that said, here, I want to give the floor or give the camera, whatever,
Whatever.
and bring my friend in here, Heru. Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure. Hi, everybody. Um, I had discussed with Michael that the plan actually is to do kind of a summary, a summation of the past 7 weeks so that we're prepared to go into these seven principles so that you have a better sense of what those seven principles are about. The one thing I still say until today when folks ask me, are you a aromatherapist? Or I tell them in all sincerity, I am a yoga teacher. Now, usually when I say that to folks, they ask me, well, are you still practicing? Yes. However, if your limited understanding of yoga is that it's all about the postures, then you're not getting enough information. Yoga is the way you embrace life. It's the path that you take in order to understand who and whose you are. I started off as a hatha yoga teacher. Now I'm starting this so that I can bring you into the connection with the Kemetic teachings. I started off as a hatha yoga teacher. Hatha yoga means solar, it's a Sanskrit word. It means solar lunar. So, right there, we're talking about the opposites. For every, um, uh, I always think of the idea of a pendulum swing. The pendulum swings one way and then it swings the other way. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. Hatha, that is solar lunar, every action, equal and opposite reaction. But at some point, that pendulum will find its place in the center. And that's what we're about is finding that place in the center or that sense of balance. I was thinking when Michael said that he got into yoga, I'm sorry, when he moved to Los Angeles at 21, so did I. And it was truly an act of faith. I had met someone while I was visiting Los Angeles a few months before, and this person fell in love with me and wanted me to come back out and marry him and start, help me to achieve my dreams, which was to open up a yoga studio. And so we did. And I remember when I let my family know what my intentions were, they looked at me like I was crazy because they knew I hadn't known this man for very long. But I'm a person who lives by faith and not by sight. And I had asked the ancestors, my spiritual guides, if this was the right thing to do. I was seeing my yoga teacher that weekend, that the person who was in, well, his name was Bill Harriman. So those of you who know the Harriman Studio of Yoga can kind of guess what happened. But anyway, he wanted me to ask my yoga teacher if it was okay to marry him. And so I put it into the universe. All right, if she hesitates at all, the universe is saying no, don't do it. I'm in Indianapolis. We're talking about Los Angeles. So I go see Mataji, and my yoga teacher, is in Chicago. I go see her. She always spoke Russian to me. She was born in Russia, and she spoke at least 13 languages fluently. And so she would say, darling, everyone was darling, darling. And she says, what's going on with you? I said, Mataji, I said, I wanted to tell you, I may be moving to Los Angeles. Now, here was the defining moment. Oh, darling, oh, I'm so happy. When are you coming? Okay. So later on into the conversation, she asked, what's bringing you? I said, well, there's a man whom I've met and he wants to marry me. Darling, darling, I want to perform the ceremony, which she inevitably did. So you live by faith and not by sight. You trust in an all knowing, all powerful presence. Now, many of us, Michael was talking about Christianity. The way Christianity was introduced to me was focused on the fear of God. It took me many years to learn that God was love. But in the process of having this fear, it restricted my life in a lot of ways. It also defined a turning point for me was attending my mother. When I was 18, my mother passed away, and I attended her funeral. And I remember looking into the casket, and I'm very much aware that this is not my mother. This is, I mean, that's obviously her body, but I knew what I knew as my mother was not what was encased in this physical presence. And so that caused me to ask the question within, so if that's not who we are, then who are we? Again, I'm only 18. I did not immediately start some type of path, but when the student is ready, the teacher appears. And a couple of years later, um, someone came into, no, yeah, no, it was only a year later. Someone came into my life and introduced this thing called yoga to me. And so one door opened, another door opened, and inevitably, at some point, I hooked up with Indra Devi, which was this turning point, and then I ended up in Los Angeles, marrying and opening up the Harriman Studio of Yoga, which reigned supreme. I'm very proud of that for 15 years, and I introduced a yoga teachers training, pioneered a yoga teachers training program in 1977, which many of my teachers were teaching, and I hopefully are still teaching today if that's what they want. Okay, so yoga was the path that I took to answer the questions that I had. Remember, the initial question was, if that's not who we are, if we're not this physical body, then who are we? And it opened the doors for me to begin a quest of finding out who and whose I really am. Um, all sorts of wonderful teachers came into my life, including Indra Devi. But one of the things that I learned from that experience of seeing my mother's body lying there, the answer was that there's something, some essence of us that we express and that we experience. It's not, it expresses through the physical vehicle, and it's what we connect with. Uh, we were talking last week, and I think the week before, about relationships that go awry, and what, how we can hold on to them for too long, or what we do in order to get away from that. The thing that comes to mind is that a lot of this, I truly believe, are karmic relationships. There are people who come into our lives to assist in our evolving. The mistake we make is when we hold on too long and we don't accept the lesson and then release. And part of the major release in all that is forgiveness. See, so anyway, it is, for me, it was important to get a sense of not who heru, the personality, because, or the ego, personality, ego, and there's nothing wrong with ego. It's what allows us to be different from one another. However, it's when ego's in charge, that's when it becomes a bit of a challenge for us. But to know us as our reason for being, why am I here? Why did I choose those parents? Why did I choose the place in which I was born? Why did I choose the physical vehicle that I have, whether it's a color or size or deformity or whatever? There was a reason for choosing that. And why do we choose the people who come into our lives to hopefully enhance our lives, even if it's something, a relationship that's not going well, but that we are learning from the relationship? And part of the learning process is to let go when it's time. We cannot change anyone. People have to want to change, and they change on their own. I truly believe that one of the major mistakes we make, especially as women, is that we see somebody that we feel we want that man or that whomever to be in our lives, man or woman, whomever, and but they're not exactly the way we want them, and so we think, well, I'll fix that person. It doesn't work that way. Or, as I was sharing last week, that sense of not being fulfilled. And all we need is somebody to come into our lives to help us fill that void. It doesn't work that way. Two halves do not make a whole. We create the wholeness within, and then through the law of attraction, we'll attract that person who is whole within himself or herself. And then we can share that mutual relationship. So here I am, I'm teaching Hatha Yoga. I'm learning that Hatha Yoga has 8 steps, not just one, not just posture. Okay. And there's something like 240,000 postures. So I'm thinking, as a yoga teacher and student, who actually sat down and said, okay, posture number one, posture number two. And then I realized after some time that I don't think the yogis of old had in mind that it's about the actual asanas, but it's actually what is our posture in life. Okay, how are you living your life? We're talking about moving into the 7 principles of Ma'at, and this is in the ancient Egyptian culture and teachings. This is before the Greeks and Romans changed so much and took so much from the ancient people. Egypt was originally known as Kemet, which means land of the dark or burnt people. So the original people looked more like me, like Michael, whomever, did not look like Elizabeth Taylor. And these were people who lived by certain principles, because their goal is that at the end of life, that they had lived their lives in a way that the heart was so light that it could be balanced, like you see a scale, and one end would be the heart, one side rather, the heart, one part of the scale, the other part of the scale would be the feather. So that these 7 principles allowed us to live in a way that the heart was so light, which means we're not holding grief and holding remorse and holding fear and all these other emotions that take away our sense of balance and well being. That when we do make the transition, the heart is light, and that we can transcend in a way that we take that with us. Because the only thing we take with us when we leave, I understand, my understanding, is our consciousness. So any points that we make in this lifetime, it behooves us to take the lessons and deal with the lessons so that when we do transcend, when we do go into our next expression of life, that the heart is light with it. So 8 steps to hatha yoga. When someone asks me, are you still doing yoga? Of course I am. Okay, because I never, if I did, it was only for a very short period of time. My approach to yoga was not focused solely on the asanas, on the yoga postures. It was to embrace, I was more interested in the spiritual dynamics of this process. And so, let me say this as well. The ancient Egyptians, the folks from Kemet, uh, any of us who've ever studied their culture and their teachings and also have a background in yoga, we could see that they initiated all this. We're talking about different cultures and different times. See, I'm not saying that the Indians stole yoga from the ancient Egyptians. No, it just was a process. It was trans, transferred. Okay, it just went on. And but we're talking about different culture and different language. The Indian people spoke. The Kemetic people spoke a language that, oh, by the way, my name is not actually pronounced heru because they did not utilize the e in the language. When I was ready to do a naming ceremony, there was a an elder there who asked me when was I going to stop pronouncing my name incorrectly. I said, "Well, how do I? I thought I was." And she says, "Oh no." And the way she pronounced it, there was no way that I was ever. It wasn't going to work because can you imagine? My name is HET-HERU without the E, so it would be something like something like that. And people have enough challenge as it is saying het heru, let alone me going the actual pronunciation of it. Anyway, so when I saw the connection, when I saw that in the 8 steps of hatha yoga, the two first steps being yamas and niyamas, which were the 10 codes of morality, I could see when I began to study the 7 principles of Ma'at, the 42 laws of Ma'at, okay? And I could see that, here's a culture that that came about several thousand years before the study of yoga in the Indian culture, and that it was passed down, okay? That I could see the connection. There are folks who teach Kemetic yoga and they teach posture with Kemetic yoga, and it's a wonderful thing to see. I was never so much into that because about the time I got into the Kemetic teachings, again I was really immersing myself more and more in the spiritual dynamics of doing yoga and teaching yoga. I also had someone come to me. The guides, the ancestors sent someone to me in my late 20s, and his name was his last name was Frank Evans, and Frank was an esoteric astrologer, and I didn't know it at that time. He was several years older than I, so there was some wisdom there that or maturity that I didn't have yet. But he respected the work, like Michael. He respected the work that I did, and the yoga studio was very successful. There were a few hundred people that came weekly, and some of them thought of me as their spiritual guide as well. So, for a young woman, because I was in the studio when I was 24, it was a lot of responsibility, but I embraced it. I was on the path that I wanted to be because as I learned more, I wanted to share more. Anyway, Frank came into my experience, and he introduced me to Madame Blavatsky's works, and it was moving me in another direction. And at the end, and during that time, that those few years that we were connected, um, during that time, I was introduced to my spiritual guides through a psychic that one of my students had referred me to and said, Heteru, this man is very gifted, and I think you would really benefit a great deal. So, yes, I set up a reading, and In the reading, Frank came
What,
came
what,
into the
what
reading,
year are we
and
talking about? What?
we're talking about 1978
Okay, so you moved. Let's see, you moved in 72 to Los
to
Angeles.
LA
Yes.
to 71. I was 21, like you were 21. I was
Right.
71 and 71. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And LA
Uh,
had just had that big earthquake.
really.
Yeah.
Yeah. I moved when I was 20 because I wanted to turn 21. Okay.
Okay.
So I had to get
Okay.
there before, right?
Okay.
I had to get there
Okay.
before, and I made it by like 5 months. Sure did. I
Okay.
sure did. I made it by five
Okay.
months before. You
So
know,
what year are we talking about? 90 something or 80 something?
me and
80,
mine, I
81?
was 77 when I moved.
77.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I left
All
around
right.
91, by the way. I left around,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
77 was when I started the yoga teachers training program. So
Okay. Yeah. And I started working at St. John's Hospital and
I lived in
back then.
Santa
Yeah.
Monica. I
Right.
remember
So,
St. John's.
yeah, I just, I love this. Do, do you know around, I'm just trying to think here on the, because this I didn't know, but I just wanted to see if you know what time, the time span when the seven principles or when this was around, because history, one of the things I wanted to comment on what you said is, guys, history is written, history gets changed.
True.
Okay. Um,
Mhm.
you can write, if if you all study the Bible, the Bible has been changed many times. There's many books on it.
True.
Okay.
Very
And
true.
so the things can get crossed over, changed. To the victors go what
This
the
one.
writing is
Mhm.
usually. Okay. It is you can see that, like, in our own country, a narrative is being written. It depends on what the mainstream media, decides how it is right now. Right now, everything is um, into Ukraine. Now, I have to. I need you for just a couple minutes here. I just can't help it. I have got to ask your comment on this.
I knew you were going to ask me. I knew you were going to ask me.
Okay, I know.
Yeah.
I want to give you my a quick take on what I think, and then I want you to give me
Okay.
because okay. So now for us,
Hmm.
the because we came up with there was only three channels, ladies and gentlemen. So when the Oscars came, it was like everybody in the world watched it because that was what everybody did back even in I think it was 72 was when Marlon Brando won and he talked about he let the Indian speak. It's always been sometimes it's smooth, sometimes it's not okay, but in this particular one nobody decided to watch it, and
Hmm.
of course I never heard about this until after it all happened. And
Hmm.
so to see this thing happen was more of a symbol that someone can be attacked um, out of the blue for making a joke. And so I kind of put this in a sense where the same with when Donald Trump was censored off of the from the mainstream media. Now you don't. It's not anything to say that who, if you like Donald Trump or not, it doesn't matter. You do not censor the president of the United States. You just don't do it. And this showed in its own way that striking someone and actually literally just walking away and getting with it and getting an Academy Award. I think that it's going to, from the entertainment field, people are going to not want to express their feelings on a comedy stage. And so I do think that it was life changing what happened. Your comment?
Having lived in, excuse me, West LA, and a lot of my students in the business, and been around the business for so many years, and live in Hollywood
I
for so
lived in
many
Hollywood
years.
for years.
Okay.
Yeah.
So my comment on it is that there's no business like show business. This is a world we don't live in. At least I
Right.
don't, and the
Right.
majority. And unfortunately, people take stuff that they see on TV or in the movies or whatever as real, and it ain't what it appears to be. I had a student one time who was a producer. I had lots of those, but I remember her saying, with regards to some of these newspapers, that the gossip newspapers, and I remember
Like
her
the
saying
National
to me,
Enquirer or something like that.
"Mhm,"
Right.
and saying, she says, please don't pay that any attention. She said, none of that is real.
None
Please
of it.
understand that. None
None
of
of
that.
it. None of it.
And then,
Thank you.
yeah, and then my ex partner um, was a um, is a singer and guitar player, and actually has a gold record in Latin America. He's saying raindrops keep falling on my head, and gold for him there, and gold for BJ Thomas here. And he was so disappointed. He said the people in the industry, when he won this award, so many of them just put him down in so many ways. And he didn't understand that. He thought, well, shouldn't there be support within our industry? And he said that his producer said, please understand the nature of this business. It is that there's some jealousy involved, for one thing. But the other thing is that it's when they're not talking about you that you have to worry. And my observation about Will Smith's family is that there's always something either about the kids or about him or about her, and it is show business. These are truly show business people. So I heard about it. I don't, I'm not a fan of the Academy Awards. It's just not my thing. And when I heard about it, that was my first thought with what I said. There's no business like show
Like show
business.
business,
Yeah.
baby.
And
Now
I
when I
don't know those guys. I don't
right.
know them. So
Well, when it first came out, again, I didn't watch. I wasn't planning on watching it.
yeah,
The moment I saw it, I knew it was rigged. I mean,
I
he
think
he
so.
fake slapped it. It was no doubt. I have no doubt that he did. And I'm so glad that you lived in Los Angeles for years, like I did. And if you
Yeah.
know anything about it, it's if it's bad publicity, it's still
Still
publicity.
good. That's right.
And
That's
so
right.
with Will, it's like all of a sudden he showed a little crazy, and they like a
Yeah,
little crazy.
that's
Okay, they
true.
really do. Like as for
True.
Joaquin Phoenix,
Yeah. Yeah.
they like it. They like a little bit Jim Carrey. Okay,
Hmm.
and that
Hmm.
brings a little spice, and now you see this whole thing, and I guarantee you, Chris is going to come out of it. That's why he said, "Oh no, 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 not personal
Of course.
charges," because he
Of
didn't
course.
get hit. So
Yeah.
because it was a slap, and it was meant to
Mhm.
have us talking about it. And
Yeah. Exactly.
yeah, I wanted to, but again, you have the LA's perspective,
Yeah.
just like I do. And
Hmm.
ladies and gentlemen, we know you're probably not going to believe it. It doesn't make everyone has an opinion.
Right.
Okay. We both live in LA. If you know enough people, these guys are great actors. You have no idea
You're
the
talented.
greatness of
Exactly.
their talent.
Mhm.
Okay. How Will can just turn them tears on.
You know
How
what
Will,
we weren't doing, Michael?
what?
That's true. We weren't talking about the Ukraine. We weren't talking about Russia. We were not talking any politics. We weren't talking about COVID. We weren't talking any of those things. All those things that are going on in the world, we were talking about. Did you see where Will Smith slapped?
Right.
Anyway, to each
Right,
his own.
and that is the parentheses of how I wanted to our own political rant here on what's going on in the world. Okay,
Yeah,
we
well,
always know um, there's always going to be something going on, ladies and gentlemen.
that's true.
This is why these principles you have to have going through your head. This is not about. We're not here to take your soul away from you. It's to
No,
expand
no,
your
thank
own,
you.
to expand your consciousness. Okay,
Yeah.
like my boy here
Is
says.
your mind on brain freeze? Mine is. I need to get my third chakra opened up with heru on the Outpost show. The human spirit experiment starts now.
You
Your
got to
boy is
open that
crazy.
brain, okay? You got to
Yeah.
open it up. So let's go into just give us the overall now on the seven principles here.
Well, that's what I was saying earlier, is that these folks figured out a way to live their lives so that, when they were at the end of their their life experience this time around, is that the heart was light enough that they could make their transition with that light heart, and that it wasn't filled with all the fears and the frustrations and the anger and all those things. So the seven principles, truth, righteousness, law, order, balance, harmony, and reciprocity, were guidelines. The serious, instead of the Bible, the way we have, at our time and in our culture, because we live in a Christian Judaic society, they use the 42 laws of Ma'at were like their Bible. And it was, instead of saying, Jesus did this and so did that, and et cetera, it was designed that you could read that and it would assist in your enlightenment. I remind people, see, this is the thing that I again disagree with folks who believe Christianity is the only way. When you come from a different culture and you speak a different language, that's not going to work for you. I live in Chinatown here in Vegas, and the majority of the people that I interact with on a daily basis are from some part of the Asian community. I have neighbors that I was trying to figure out, because they don't speak English, if they spoke Cantonese or Mandarin, because that was my limited understanding of the languages that they spoke. And so I said to one gentleman who I've always said hello to, but I was curious, do you speak Cantonese? Because I was going to learn how to say hello or say something in his language. So I said, Mandarin or Cantonese? And he didn't understand a word I was saying. And I thought, what? At least, you mean, am I saying it incorrectly? I asked a couple other people, same experience. So then I asked a friend that I dance with who's Chinese, and he's been in the States for a number of years. He speaks English. And I told him about my experience. He says, you have to understand that Cantonese and Mandarin are the languages that are like the general languages spoken in the bigger cities. But some of these folks that come from these other towns in China, they do speak a different language. It's the same way with the Jamaicans. I remember being somewhere, and I was with someone that my ex, who is from Panama, and his background is his people from Jamaica, from the Caribbean. And so we're walking, this is in LA, and we're walking through the casino there, the Hollywood. We went there to hear some music. And I hear these two gentlemen speaking, and I'm looking at them, and I'm thinking, they must be Africans, because, and I said this to my then partner, and he said, no, he says, they're Jamaican. I said, well, they're not speaking English. So I go to them and I said, where are you from? And they said, well, we're from Jamaica. And I explained to them, I said, well, I'm not hearing English. And they laughed, and then they explained the same thing that this Chinese gentleman said to me. They were speaking patois, basically. So we have these, from different cultures, we have different languages and different understandings of how things operate. So to be focused solely on one way of knowing the truth of your being is very limited. I had a boyfriend when I was a kid who was Japanese. Kid meaning I was 18. And I remember we were walking, and I was telling him again, it was a limited understanding of how all this works. And I said, well, what I don't understand about Buddhism is that you pray to an idol. And he said, well, that's not really true. He said, we find God in all things. He said, if I moved, and we were approaching a tree, and he said, if I move to connect with God through this tree, it's not about the tree, it's about the presence of God. And that was, a light bulb moment for me.
Okay, so when this is just seven out of 42, or is this the
Mhm.
seven main?
It Okay, how can I explain this? It's the both of them are guidelines. Okay, this is
Okay,
like saying you're taking um, principles out of the Bible to help guide your life, but
okay,
the words are all the books are still there. Well, these were the laws that help to guide this seven major laws that help to guide these people's lives. but they were
Okay.
influenced by the 42 laws of Ma'at.
Okay. So then why would, let's just say, why would you say truths first?
Mm. Why not? It begins with truth.
Okay.
It would be, is you said it a few minutes ago. If you're not true within yourself, a lot of people talk, but few people walk their talk, I've noticed.
Right.
And you enter into a level of awareness, but you don't live by that, then especially people who are our spiritual leaders, or even our political leaders, they're talking one thing and acting another. There have been so many cases where spiritual leaders, like in cults or even in churches, where they're standing there and preaching, and then next thing you know, you hear that all sorts of other stuff is going on.
Right.
So we cannot know who we really are and our real purpose. I remember I knew someone years ago that said he wanted to start a church for money. See, and he's not the only one. A lot of people do
No,
do that.
that's right. That's right. So
Yeah.
that truth. Okay. So the truth. And again, we're going to go into each one of these individuals, but we're just in the time we got. I just want to get a brief thing for
Okay.
everyone to know where we're going.
Okay.
So the truth is more about your truth within yourself, and then
Knowing
moving.
who and whose you really are,
Right.
basically.
Right. Right. Okay. All right. So then the next one is justice. Okay.
Right.
Go ahead and give me your comment, just a brief one here, and I got a question for you after that.
Okay. Justice is, I'm kind of being redundant. It is living your life in a principled way that life will reflect that, just like the scale. Okay. Living, because it's the scales of justice. You're living your life, in yoga, we call it, no, I won't say that. I'll go back to this, what I was saying, because it's jumping ahead. That you are living, again, in a principled way, that you're not making an effort to harm anyone, let alone harm yourself. That what you send out comes back to you tenfold. You don't have to worry about getting, revenge, because nature, the universe, better still, is going to take care of that for you. So you live in a principled way.
Uh,
What was your
so
question?
yes, well, the thing is, I wanted to add real quick with the
Okay.
question. So the justice is also you as a person.
Hmm.
You're about justice within yourself, and so
Hmm.
you give that out. So this is not necessarily about a court of law.
No,
That's what.
no,
Right.
no. It's the laws of the universe,
Right.
not
Okay.
man-made laws. The laws of the universe.
Right. Okay. So next, let's go into harmony.
Okay. So
Simplify.
I had someone say something to me one time. I had an experience, place where I was dancing, and a friend told me that one of the women in this place hated me. And I thought, how can you hate me? You may not like me, but how can you hate me? I've never done anything for you. So it was a nonsense reason, if that's what the woman actually said. So what I've learned is that everybody's not going to like you for whatever reason. And the reality is that you're not going to like everybody. But if you live in a way, in a harmonious way, where you're not sitting back holding bad feelings towards someone, if they don't like you, they don't like you, let it go. Okay. And then consequently, not only are you, okay, the more you live in a harmonious way within yourself. Okay, you're not sitting back constantly criticizing yourself or having bad feelings about yourself or denying yourself the good things that are there for you to have. The more harmony you have within you, not getting caught up in the things that are going on in the world, but finding that peace and harmony within you, and in doing so, you're connecting with that divine within you. That in itself is automatically going to reflect out into the world. And still, not everybody's going to like you, but it's just the way it is.
Yes, you can be, and I disagree with someone, and I think that's one of the things I'm really looking forward to this one. The harmony of you know harmony. The opposite of harmony is probably division. Okay,
Okay.
so or I mean, and that's kind of where we're at. It's really in a divisive kind of way right
Hmm.
now.
Hmm.
And it's not always been, because I mean no, I'm sorry, it's been on and off for a long time. Okay,
Yeah,
the media makes things even more so. The
definitely.
harmony is within yourself, of let bygones be bygones, or there's a fight that was even or anything. And so anyway, and that leads to the very next one, which
Well,
is oh,
let me say this. Isn't there
go ahead,
something in
go
the
ahead.
Bible? I'm not a Bible person, folks, but isn't there something that is said, agree with thine adversary quickly? In other words, what that is saying to me is that move into that space of harmony within yourself, and so consequently it'll reflect on the outer.
Harmony and me, we're pretty good company. Yeah, man. That's a great one to have. Okay. So let's go to the next one here. Balance.
Hmm.
Balance, which is a great one. It's funny because
Yeah,
it's in the middle one. It's the middle one.
yeah,
It's as funny as
yeah,
number four
yeah.
out of the seven.
Yeah, what
So,
is that? Is that word moderation? No, I like I said, I told you at the beginning I don't drink. That's just my choice. If you drink, you drink, but drink in moderation. Whatever you do, do in moderation, and that consequently will reflect itself in balance in your life. When I was such a serious student of yoga, as I said, the following the path that the ancients participated in, that it wasn't in balance, and that was a part of the create what created the depression that I was experiencing. Remember, depression is something inside pressing to get out. My being wanted to be free, and so I had to find that balance. Even the way I ate, I am not a good vegetarian. And I was a vegetarian for 35 years. And what I didn't realize was that I don't have the right blood type for it. It took me 35 years to go to a nutritionist who said, that's okay for some people, but for you, not for you. And I couldn't figure out why I was tired all the time. And, I was just out of sorts. And when I started including, and I know that it surprised everyone when I started eating meat again, but it worked for me. Everyone has to find out what's right for you. See, my path may not be the right path for you. Michael's path may not be the right one for me or for you. Find your right path and live in that right path.
and so we're not here to change you.
Mm-mm, no.
Okay. We can't change anybody. All right. You know, I'm so glad that I'm so glad you went through depression. No, I relate in the fact that I had to admit when I look back on there that I was in a period of time,
Mm-hmm,
and I was too serious.
mm-hmm,
I was too serious, which meant I was too hard on myself. So I wanted, you know, just to sometimes people would go through a depression, but it's like how you deal with it, and it's part of to not get to that.
yeah,
I'm sure Heru could agree with me on this. If we knew what we knew now, if we,
that's true. That's true.
it could have been different. Okay,
Right.
could have been different. But then again, maybe that's what, we
Mhm.
were supposed to experience it.
So we
We're
can share
supposed-
it with you.
Yeah,
So you
right.
don't have to have the same
Exactly.
experience.
Right. Exactly.
Hmm.
Okay, so let's go to the next one here. Order.
Okay. Well,
Order, ma'am. Would that follow orders?
yeah. Well, um, let's see. There's some example that I use when I talk about um, why I don't believe in the devil. That I believe that there is just one source, all knowing, all powerful, ever present. However, there is an expression, there is an energy that sometimes people participate in. Remember, I was talking about Hata being solar lunar. In order to understand the higher, there has to be the lower, and vice versa. So, if I truly believe that there is one power, one source, one energy, and that if I see it only as just as one, no matter what all this crazy stuff that's going on, that appears to be going on in the universe, if there was an order, there would be chaos constantly. We probably wouldn't even be here. So there is a consciousness. All right. So this is what I'm working toward as a student of the Aquarian age. And that's what I was talking about my teacher, Frank Evans, is that I no longer see me and thee. Okay. That I no longer am believing that there's something outside of myself, but that in order, there's just one. And that is an Aquarian age interpretation of the world in which we live. That there isn't some power outside of us, that we are that power. But are we processing and using it in order, or are we processing and using it in chaos?
So I see this as okay. So everyone, Mother created us and have for free will, and so in this free will, what we've done is we've allowed the world, the whole place, to be where our will has been taken from us. We still have it. That's what we're trying to awaken you, that you can change your circumstances, even in spite of what is being all over us, what's being all over us. This is why these principles, and we're going to go into this more because we're
Yeah.
coming to the top of the hour. Just but the main thing is order. Everyone has to have order. You got to make your bed up. This is
Mhm.
also that kind of thing about keeping yourself in order to be able to order what you want your universe to be. So we got to go to the next one because we're getting out of time here. Um, propriety.
Okay, so um, in the seven principles, that the way I learned them, propriety was not one of them. It was law. Is that what are they talking about?
Um,
Propriety?
that's what I
Yeah,
assumed that was.
that's what happens when you start studying esoteric sciences. Just like in the chakras, people say, "Well, that chakra is that color," and then you'll find somebody else that says, "Oh no, it's that color." So the way I learned is truth, righteousness, law, order, balance, harmony, and reciprocity. So I don't know, what does propriety mean?
Hold
Do
on,
you know?
I'm going to give it to you in just a second.
Okay.
The word, kind of got me too. By the way,
Mhm.
well, that sounds very English.
Yeah.
So anyway, let me just okay, propriety. The state or quality of conforming to conventionally accepted standards of behavior or morals. I think it's
That would be
similar
a
with
loss. It'd be a
yeah,
loss.
yeah,
Okay.
it could be.
I just wanted
You
to make
said
sure.
law, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Law, order, balance, harmony, reciprocity.
Right,
Yeah.
right. See that right, I got you. I
Yeah.
got you.
So, yeah. Well, it's to understand that there are specific law. Okay. All right, we're individuals, but we all have to respect the law of gravity. Doesn't matter how aware you are, what your astrological sign is, whatever. Da, da. If you go onto the top of a building and jump off, you're going to come down. So it's important for us to know the laws that govern the universe in which we live, the law of attraction. Whoever we perceive ourselves as being, and we're acting in that understanding, is a law that reaches out and attracts others. So if you're finding that in your experience, you're having a lot of negative experience, for want of another term, a lot of um, angry energy coming at you, it's time to check yourself and see, am I acting in anger? Because that's the law of attraction.
got you.
And there's several other laws which I will share
Right.
as well.
There's so much to talk about that in the because it's not we're not just talking about like something that's written.
Mm,
Uh, page 17, verse 2, verse 3 says you have to, you know,
yeah, exactly.
and again, what in my understanding, it's written on our heart. So what
Hmm.
we're trying to do is open up the heart chakra. We're going to talk about them essential oils. Okay,
Hmm.
last one because they're coming to the top of the hour here. Reciprocity.
Hmm. That which you send out comes back to you tenfold. That again, if you're not liking the way your life, I have a friend, I love her dearly, but this child lives in negativity. She's always thinking someone is thinking badly about her or wanting to do something negatively toward her. And I make an effort to get her to understand that as long as she's living in that state of consciousness, that will be her experience. So reciprocity is you're receiving that which you're sending out. You don't like what you're receiving, change what you're sending out. And you do it through state of consciousness.
That's a big one, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, really. So we have in the next 7 weeks, we're going to break down truth and
Yeah.
justice, harmony, balance, order, law, and reciprocity. Okay. And these are,
Yes.
you can look these up yourself and understand them. And it's all, again, it's a piece of the puzzle.
Right.
Okay. It's
And how you can apply them in your lives to make your life
right.
better.
Right. You can call them tools, principles.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can,
Principles.
however it is you want to put it in. But the main
Mhm.
thing is we want to put it, help you find the right you, the balanced you, the harmony you. Okay,
Mhm.
and the truthful you. Okay, that's all we're here about. No one's here to change you to be anything you don't want to be. But again,
We
the
can't
world.
anyway, even if we wanted to. So,
So we're just what we're doing. We're just gonna put it out.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
we'll
yeah.
put it out. It's a gift that we give to you and Heru. Thank you so much for coming on. I
Always a
can't wait to
pleasure. Always a
get ready to
pleasure.
next week here, and
Yeah.
we'll go from there. We give
Mm.
you a mouthful, so you probably want to watch this show again twice when y'all finally get there
Mm.
when we broadcast out here. Any final thoughts?
Yeah, well, I was thinking, you see, okay, this is how I see the planet changing. Okay, like as I said,
Okay.
it has a process. It's on its way toward becoming sacred. But if we can all collectively take back our power, our divine power, our spiritual power, it's going to have an effect on all and all in all things, nature, in health, in love, and peace, and harm, and all those good things. So that's why I do what I do. As Michael's saying, I'm not here to try to change you. Couldn't if I wanted to. But maybe your experience will be like mine. I hear something when I'm asked, what my religion is. Religion is a word that comes from the root religio, which means to bind. I use the word union instead.
It's so incredible. Thank you so much, Heather.
My pleasure,
Appreciate
Michael.
you.
My pleasure.
Um, we're going to see you next week. Thank you so much.
Bye, everybody.
All right. You guys ready to change? You ready to add some more tools into your toolbox? Well, the thing is, what I feel everyone has gotten tired of religion. Okay. I know you've heard give me that good old time religion, but I think that people are not questioning things. And these are the ones look, I'm not here to change you, Christians, Islam's. This isn't for me to change you. These principles help you be a better whatever it is you are. Okay. They're here to challenge you to what? Be better. I have my own expression, Mike. You either getting better or worse. And I'm not going to be that one who's looking behind anymore. And that's what I don't want you to be doing. Now, we're going to be introducing Heteru's essential oils. We're going to be talking about that talking about how the chakras, we've already gone through these things in the past here. So really what it comes down to is you're going to have to sit here and think for a little bit here and say it. Which way do you want to go? Are you dancing all by yourself? Do you know not which way to go? Okay. Do yourself a favor. Come into Heru's chamber with me on Wednesdays. And let's talk about things that people aren't talking about, but also are so valuable. Okay. Thank you so much. Remember, don't forget to subscribe to my channel here. And again, if you want to get with the info at Heru, I put it up here on the screen here. And we'll be talking more as we go into April. Looking forward to it. Looking forward to you. We'll see you later, and blessings to the rest of your evening.